encourage you to move forward with this project as soon as we can. We're anxious to get started.
I believe when I talked to you after the meeting, we were down here or whatever, that you told me that Karnes County had invested over a 12-year period approximately $400,000 of our county taxpayer dollars. Is that correct?
Karnes County, the master plan document, which the county contracted for in 2000, was funded strictly through Karnes County dollars. There was no other source of funding for that, so the county paid that. They paid an additional, I believe, $238,000 to Fisher Heck Architects for the architectural plans, and that was matched by the Texas Historical Commission with $100,000. So the total commitment toward this phase, this point in time, by Karnes County and the state is nearly $400,000. Yes.
Okay, I have some questions. First of all, as inspector on our annex, the completion date is now set. Last recorded setting was April 15th, and they've applied for more days, and they got some freeze days, and it's probably around June 1st now. And a more realistic time is August 1st, in my opinion. So, anyway, that's when it's going to be delayed. All right. I questioned Mr. Fisher. I checked on Mr. Fisher's record, and he's a very good architect. I questioned him last year, and you and he were down here about the French drain around the building, and why that wasn't addressed if he knew that there was French drain and wasn't draining. And he said they'd address it when it needs to be addressed. All right. My question today is how you can have a plan to restore this building, to tear off the wings on that end and put face brick on that part of the building and windows on it, and not stabilize the foundation of this part of the building when we don't have any grants coming anytime soon. And it's written in your paperwork right here that there's no guarantee of any grants, etc. And the county is responsible. The way I see this project, it could cost the county $3 or $4 million to save what we take once we tear those wings off of there. And we don't have that money to do that. We have budget problems. We're way behind our budget. There's talk of a whole lot of money coming in, but it's not here. All right. How can you put new brick on that end of the building, tear those wings off, and expect it to stay there without stabilizing this foundation of this building? This keeps setting.
Okay. The scope of work for this initial phase is to remove the wing and to repair the west facade. To remove the two additions. Pardon me?
That includes the new brick on it.
Yes, and new windows. It is to remove the two additions, to repair the historic west exterior wall by restoring and replicating the stone and returning the windows to their original configuration and repoint the brick. So the intent is not actually to remove the brick or reface the brick, but the historic brick will remain. Again, the windows will be replaced. The roof repairs will be made on the west elevation, and there will be limited amount of interior work because the mechanical system feeds a few spaces here and it's housed in the addition. So that needs to be reworked. And number 6 is to provide site work to allow proper drainage away from the building. So the scope is meant to be somewhat complete. That the wing is, I've heard someone concerned that it would be a gaping hole in the building. The idea is to resolve that west elevation so that it is restored. Now, the addition itself is what's causing the structural instability of this. The foundation of this building is not problematic. the foundation of this building bears equally on the soils, and the soils have been determined not to be bad. The problem with the addition is that there's differential settlement because the foundations of the two periods of construction are different structurally and are different from a construction standpoint. They're designed differently. And so when the addition is removed, that will allow this building to maintain itself in structural equilibrium and not have any trouble. That's the idea, that's the main intent of that project, is to allow the foundation of this building to support it the way it did originally, the way that it should do it, and it will not have problems after the addition is removed.
So there's no cracks in those wings over there. Can we expect these cracks to close themselves up when that's done?
Oh. Well, the cracks will worsen if you leave the addition on. I can guarantee that. Yes, sir. That will be part of the next phase. The next phase is clearly, I cannot stand here and guarantee that the state has funding to pay for the next phase of work. But I do know that if you do not remove the addition, the next phase of work, 5 years down the road, will be harder than it is today because the structure will be more and more damaged. There is a lot of repair that needs to be done to this building, and it's an option whether to put the tower back on. I mean, there's a few $1 million worth of work here that's optional. And if we have the ability to help you exercise that option and make it a beautiful building, we will do that. But we will also work with you if we do not have funding for a future phase so that you can repair it in a way that's economical.
I did read 2 reports on this, studies on this, one from 2005, 2007, I don't know when they were. I hadn't reviewed them lately, one of them stated that the original building was probably not built to support the clock towers. And the other report says at that time it would take in excess of $200,000 to stabilize the foundation of this building. And that's not being addressed. That is my biggest problem. We're not stabilizing the foundation of this building to start with. When we knew 5 or 6 years ago that it needed stabilization. As a builder, contractor for over 50 years, I know that you need a foundation and a roof. Otherwise, you don't go in and build cabinets and you do bathrooms until you do the foundation and the roof. That is my biggest problem with not stabilizing this foundation as the first part of the job.
Well, I go back to the statement that the addition is what's causing the instability of the foundation of this portion of the building. When the addition is removed, the foundation of this portion of the building will be stabilized.
There again, I'm not an architect, but if this is all cracked up, and that's not, I don't understand how that's possible, but that's tearing this apart. If this part is cracked and that is not, I can't understand that.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking about this, and if they'd have done the identical addition over on the other end of the building, same size, just exactly, it probably would have leveled itself out. And I think what she's saying is when they added this just on one side, I can see how, and this building stood by itself for like 31 years, and then that was put on, and it's like way out there.
And sir, to address your other comment about the clock tower being problematic, and that's why, well, it's probably why it was removed, because structurally there were problems with the clock tower, and that would definitely be taken into consideration when the clock tower is rebuilt. It would probably be rebuilt using lightweight, light gauge steel instead of heavy timbers, so it would be meeting structural codes today, and it would not cause the same distress on the building that it did originally.
Do you know if there are elevation shots of the floors in this building or anywhere on those reports?
That's one thing that we are very interested in the community bringing forward. If they have any historic photographs of this courtroom, usually when we're doing a project of this type, we have to uncover evidence, ghost marks on the flooring to understand how the spaces were originally configured and laid out and how they were constructed. So usually that's once a building has been totally evacuated, we can then get to that level of detail, and we adjust the plans as we go to reflect any new information that we find. But if we can't do it on the basis of photographs, historic photographs.
But you do not know if there were any elevation shots taken in those two studies that were made to see if that is 2 inches lower than this side or that side. Or
Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking about grade?
yes,
Grade?
elevation.
Could you repeat the question?
Okay, do you know if there are any elevation shots of the floor in this building taken in either of the studies done to show whether that side is lower than the other side or one elevation shot? We assume that it was all built at a level elevation. We would
Yes.
assume that, right?
Yes, but it's not uncommon for historic buildings to be slightly out of level.
Well, I want to know if there's any that could be,
That doesn't-
if there were any grade shots taken, if we could take those grade shots today again and see if there's a comparison between 5 years going today.
I'm sure that the engineer could come back out and evaluate on the basis of previous information the cracks. If you're wondering if there's been more distress in the building in the last 5 years.
I think Mr. Fisher said that was in the engineering report.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't have that detail.
Well, my concern is that you have a statement in here that says that, you know, there's no guarantee of any more grants, and we know how funding for the state of Texas is. And if that's taken off and this is left to sit here, what's going to happen in 4 or 5 years before we get grant?
The building will be much better off.
It'll be about 4,000 square feet.
And we have worked with counties prior to the last 10 years when we have had grant funds available. Since 1975, the Texas Historical Commission has been